Round 2 of the independent insurance company Vauxhall Caterham Challenge, and the cars line up on the grid. Number 17 there is the celebrity car, driven to victory in round 1 of the series by Dario Franchitti and driven here at Silverstone by Justin Bell, son of Le Mans winner Derek Bell. This is how the championship table looks after one round, with Richard Boston and Robert Coates equal on 10 points each. But pole position has gone to single-seater ace Ben Edwards.
It's a little bit different to driving the Vauxhall Lotus. I haven't got any wings to help me go around the corners now, but just as much power, so it's quite tricky to drive.
But you've done pretty well in practice, lined yourself up on pole position.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I managed to get a little bit of a tow in qualifying, which is quite important with these cars, and just managed to get one good lap in, which is the main thing.
Now you've qualified 0.2 of a second behind the pole man. How are you going to win the race?
Well, I pulled him round to that time. He had me as a carrot, sort of that 100 yards ahead. It wasn't quite in the slipstream, so I can't give him that one, but he did have me as a carrot. I just like to think that in the race, he's going to be my carrot, and when it comes to the end, I'll be the first one across the line.
You've done well in practice, qualified third. Must be pleased with that.
Yeah, I was actually. I mean, I was going around and they put out my times, and I went, wow, you know, that's all right. Trouble is, as you can see, they've taken the engine out and the gearbox because I couldn't go from 3rd to 4th or 5th to 4th. I mean, it wouldn't get in. So I'm kind of inside. I think, well, maybe I was a bit quicker than even my qualifying showed. So new gearbox, first race, we'll find out.
Average lap speed through practice just under 150 kilometres per hour for Ben Edwards, who sits on pole position, with alongside of him David Walton and Justin Bell. Row 2, Simon Durden and championship leader Richard Boston. And then on to row 3, Robert Nern, Andrew Haddon and Bill Lancashire. Row 4, Guy Parry and journalist Art Marcus. Less than a second splitting the first 7 in practice as we ride with Justin Bell away from the line, and a brilliant start from the man from the middle of the front row there, David Walton. 190 odd horsepower, just 515 kilos as the Caterhams rocket down towards Copse for the first time. And through on the inside there was Richard Boston, the man who's the equal championship leader, who's gone through into second. Robert Nern has also come through on the inside of Bell, and Justin Bell finds himself in 5th place as they go round Maggots here for the first time and into Beckett's. In the lead though, Richard Boston now, from David Walton in 2nd place, then Ben Edwards, then coming up very, very quickly on the outside there, Andrew Haddon with the light blue car. And away now, we ride now with Robert Nern, down towards Brooklands for the first time. The leader, though, the yellow car there, Richard Boston. On the inside of him, Walton, and they touch. The mudguard goes flying, and Walton collects it all back together again, as does Richard Boston. They're still in 1st and 2nd places, and Justin Bell gained a place there as well. So Bell now up to 4th place. Just ahead of him there, Robert Nern, and past Boston they go. Boston must have some sort of a problem. Over the start-finish line they go at the completion of lap 1, and Bell now on the inside of Nern and David Walton. Nern goes through, I think, into the lead. Can Bell snatch the lead away from him as they come into Copse? Tremendous power to weight ratio of these little machines, all running on Avon Control slick racing tyres. And the leader, Robert Nern, comes into Beckett's for the 2nd time. Justin Bell in 2nd place. 3rd place is Ben Edwards. 4th is Guy Parry. And then a great dice there between David Walton and Simon Durden for 5th and 6th. Boston has pulled off and out of the race as Justin Bell goes through into the lead and snatches the lead away from Nern. So Bell leads from Robert Nern, then Ben Edwards in 3rd place. 4th place is still Guy Parry now. Can Nern snatch the lead back off Justin Bell? Out of Luffield for the 2nd time as they come up to cross the start-finish line around Woodcut. And Nern sits in the slipstream of the Caterham in front of him, pulls out and slingshots past underneath the bridge. And this is the view from Justin Bell's car as they go into Copse, lap 3. Bell very slightly the quicker out, and on the inside line as they head down towards Maggots, but he's not going to be able to get through there. Robert Nern has made sure the door is shut, and through into 2nd place has come Ben Edwards. Edwards, though, slides a little bit wide. So Bell is back to 3rd. 4th place is still Guy Parry. 5th is David Walton, and 6th is Andrew Haddon. Now what can Justin Bell do as they come down towards Brooklands? Past Edwards he goes, he tries to get past Nern as well on the inside. They almost touch, and Justin Bell still in 2nd place, but he almost touched the side there of Robert Nern's car. It was almost disaster. Around Luffield they go. Out of Luffield once again They're coming back over the start-finish line. Nern it is, looks across there, still in front. There's Justin Bell in the celebrity car. Can they make it 2 wins out of 2 for the Hyperion prepared car? And down towards Copse they go. Now Bell trying on the outside. That's a very brave place to do it indeed. Touches the curb on the exit, but he's through. And Justin Bell quicker through Copse and goes into the lead. Second place now is Guy Parry. And that's a great drive from Parry. He was only 9th quickest in practice. Edwards in 3rd, and Robert Nern is now back to 4th place. Walton is 5th, Haddon is 6th, and down the straight they come into Brooklands once again. Justin Bell in front, and then everybody else in 2nd. Parry in 2nd it is as they come out of Brooklands. Edwards gets a little bit sideways there in 3rd. Then it's Nern in 4th, Walton in 5th, Haddon in 6th, and Duerden in 7th. Just 10 laps this race is run over, and over the line go the leading group. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th places. You can see there the rear mudguard flapping in the breeze there of David Walton's blue car as Parry gets pushed back to 3rd by Ben Edwards. So Edwards is up to 2nd, Parry is back to 3rd. How long those positions will stay the same though? Let's watch from Robert Nern's car as they come into Beckett's once again. Nern travelling in 4th place, with just ahead of him there Guy Parry. Ahead of him Ben Edwards and Justin Bell leading. Down the club straight and into Brooklands, and through on the inside goes Nern. Locks the brakes briefly and Parry spins out, almost gets collected by Walton there. Sorts himself out and sets off again, but he's lost a good 4 or 5 places there. And Nern is up into 3rd place. Walton up to 4th. 5th place is Duerden, and 6th place is Andrew Haddon. This the dice for 4th and 5th there as the sun glints on the back of Walton's car. Duerden on the inside as they come into Copse, and through he goes. So Duerden moves up to 4th. Walton with that flapping mudguard is back to 5th. Now Beckett's corner, Justin Bell still leads. 2nd place Ben Edwards, 3rd Robert Nern, 4th Duerden, 5th is Walton, getting a little bit sideways there as they head now up towards Brooklands once again. We're aboard with Robert Nern. On the outside of him though is Duerden, a very ambitious manoeuvre, and Duerden spins out. Duerden spins backwards of Brooklands, collects it back together again, but he will have lost 3 or 4 places as a result of that. So Nern on the grass there in his efforts to keep ahead of Walton and try and catch up the 2nd place man Ben Edwards. Goes through, over the line in 3rd place. Walton in 4th, and 5th place is still car number 16, Andrew Haddon. Let's take a look at a replay of that incident where Duerden tried on the outside to get around Robert Nern, really coming into Brooklands far too quick, and spins out as Nern continues on his way. Now here's Justin Bell, looking all set to make it 2 in a row for the Hyperion Run celebrity car. Just 1 more lap to go at the conclusion of this one. Ben Edwards is there in 2nd place. 3rd place, another Hyperion Run car, that of Robert Nern, with David Walton trying desperately hard to find a way around Nern. And then Andrew Haddon next up. Through they go. This is the dice for 3rd, 4th and 5th places. There's 2nd place man going over the line and onto his final lap. And he's beginning to close the gap a little bit on Justin Bell, but I fear that it's too late now. Now here's Robert Nern coming into Copse. Working away at the wheel there. Very quick indeed, with 188 brake horsepower from the Vauxhall engine, just 515 kilos of chassis. Around Beckett's they come. 4th place man there, Dave Walton still. 5th place man Andrew Haddon has dropped back a little bit. Down the straight comes the leader Bell. Edwards in 2nd place. Here's the dice for 3rd, with on the inside there, defending the line, Robert Nern. 4th place is Walton, who looks to pull alongside as they come up towards Luffield, but there's no way he'll find a way past there. As Justin Bell comes up, Edwards has closed, but not enough. And Justin Bell with the Hyperion Run Celebrity car makes it 2 in a row for the celebrity drivers, with victory in round 2 of the Caterham Vauxhall Challenge. Ben Edwards home in 2nd place from Robert Nern in 3rd, Walton in 4th, Andrew Haddon in 5th, and Bill Lancashire confirmed in 6th place. In the title chase, Robert Nern heads David Walton by just 3 points, as Justin Bell receives the spoils of victory after providing us with some tremendous in-car action.
2 of us in the top 3 with them. Yes, it was quite fun because you actually do, it does cross your mind that if you are in the lead and you've got a camera, no one ever sees anything. But with the 3 of us swapping the lead about 5 times in the first lap and a half, I thought, well, you'll get your pound of flesh there. But once after the 3rd lap, I managed to pull out, I thought, well, you'll have to make do with the 3rd car.
Have you ever won a race at Silverstone before?
The last time I came here I won a race was in Vauxhall Lotus, in the Spring Mobile Spring Cup, which was in, I guess, 4 years ago. So I'll come back again.
The independent insurance company Caterham Vauxhall Challenge from Donington Park, round 3. It's the long circuit in a series that has a 3-point lead now for the man in front, Robert Nern from Dave Walton. Andrew Haddon and Simon Durden in 3rd place, and then Ben Edwards in 4th, just 1 point behind them. But can the 26-year-old Walton, instructor at Oulton Park, get it right this time?
First corner's going to have a lot to do with it. With these Caterham Vauxhalls, I believe you viewers saw last week from the Silverstone round, it's very, very close. I think the traffic with the slower C-class cars could play a big part later on in the race when it comes to lapping. It's the old Formula 1 thing. Now here's the opportunity to get past that you've been waiting for. It could also give us the break. If I'm in the front, it could give me the break as well.
With Ben Edwards and Richard Boston competing in the front row, it's 55 Guy Parry on the 2nd row, with next to him young Jason Elliott trying to make it 2 wins in the day.
The first time I drove it yesterday in qualifying was the first few laps were a little hairy for me because I was going straight on everywhere because there was no brakes. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. It's a good race.
Fun to drive?
Yes, the cars obviously don't handle that well compared with the 3000, and you can throw them around all over and they come back okay. So yeah.
Well, you've got something to live up to. You know, the celebrity driver always wins. Can you do it?
That's right. Well, I'm 6th on the grid, so I think get a good start. I think we'll be okay. I'll try my hardest.
Robert, you had your problems in practice. Can you overcome them?
I think I can do reasonably well. I'm not sure that I can get through to the front. Obviously, it's a quality field, and Jason Elliott, particularly as renowned motor racer. I feel sure that I can get up into maybe the top 6 and at least enhance my position in the championship with a few points.
180 brake horsepower for the latest 7 in the week that the 107 is announced for Grand Prix racing. But let's look at those practice times again. Here are the top 10. Dave Walton, Ben Edwards, Richard Boston, Guy Parry and Jason Elliott. That's the top 5. And the next 5 also interesting. Simon Durden, Andrew Haddon, Robert Nern, Bill Lancashire and the final man there, Paul Kite. But don't forget Robert Coates was 2nd fastest in practice, starting from the back of the grid due to an indiscretion as away they go. And that's Elliott we're looking now with the onboard camera coming up looking for 3rd place. That's Durden alongside him, Simon Durden. Durden momentarily in 3rd there, but coming up and past Dave Walton, it's still Jason Elliott. And look at the way those cars weave and slide about. Comparatively narrow tyres make some very exciting racing and very close quarters racing. Really the thing to watch here as they come down now through the Craner curves. Ben Edwards in the lead. Good start for Edwards. Finished 2nd last week to Justin Bell at Silverstone. Walton still in 3rd place, then Durden. And coming up sharp then a man who had a bad start, but we're on board now with Robert Coates in number 5. He started on the back of the grid. Bill Lancashire ahead of him. And Lancashire about to be disposed of in number 2. Andrew Haddon now, the next man to have a go at. And literally too. Clipped his rear wing there, lost a bit of ground as a result of that. Back on the leading battle again. And still going hard there, Robert Nern. Trying to close the gap a little bit, but this is Jason Elliott. You can see the gap between him and the leader. Ben Edwards into the S. And look at the wheel work there. You can see the amount of correction required in these 180 brake horsepower cars is on the outside now, looking for the Melbourne hairpin line when he comes out of it to be a tight one and then try and get on the inside as they come up towards Goddard's. Does it work? Just about. He's alongside, coming up, but he's at a disadvantage here. Braking could do it. But now, ahead goes Edwards. He's coming out a bit wide. Faster out of the corner, definitely there as far as Elliott's concerned. Ducks up alongside as they go down now towards Redgate. Redgate corner, a daunting prospect if you're on the outside. And he didn't get through going into Redgate, but he's getting through coming out of it. Coming out and down through the Craner curves. Cars go very, very light. A downhill drift is a very, very difficult thing to master in a car like this. And Elliott driving superbly, snatches away that lead as they go around the old hairpin. Behind him there, a good battle going on. David Walton still holding on to third place, and we're back now once again with Bob Coates. Coates really trying hard to make up for lost ground, but you can see he's got quite a fight on his hands. Gaining ground, hand over fist here. And Fist there literally being occupied in opposite lock. That's Nairn he's closing on at the moment. 2 leaders. Walton holding on in there. Really going very hard, and a good battle here too. Paul Kite in number 3 takes himself just ahead of Andrew Hatton there. And this is Edwards, 2 wheels on the grass, coming down towards the S's. But the door firmly closed. Jason Elliott proving just how wide a car the little Caterham 7 can be. And holding on for all he's worth. Leaving the space up the inside, it's not going to help at all. Ben Edwards doesn't fall for that one. He's still going to try and come out tight if he can, but he can't come out quite tight enough. This is Coates, opposite lock. Sorts it, still in that quest to try and snatch away another place and not making the sort of progress I'm sure that he'd like to be making. That was a nice move, up and past number 7, Robert Nairn. And gained himself a place there. The gear change a bit leisurely as he went up a gear there. That's a bit better. In now to Redgate corner. Nice line through, having to ease a little bit to get the tail to come out, kill the understeer. It did. And down now through the Craners, and back comes Robert Nairn. Nairn came back there, much the faster of the two. Let's watch what happens when they get down to the old hairpin itself here. And then maintaining his advantage. But here's that battle for the lead again. Jason Elliott, a little bit of opposite lock, just a tremor of it as he came in. Edwards, Walton, Nairn, Coates right up behind. And Coates making some progress. Bit of opposite lock there. And that does not want to go into gear. A gearbox problem, I think, and that's one place, 2 places further down. And I don't know whether he missed a gear or whether or not he's got a stiff gearbox there, but either way, whichever it is, he lost a couple of places as a result of it. No, he's got a gearbox problem. He doesn't want to go into third. And that's another place gone. Up came number 55, Guy Parry, and a bit of opposite lock to sort it out, but the heart has gone out of Robert Coates now, but it's not gone out of Ben Edwards. Ben Edwards determined to try and dislodge Jason Elliott as they set off now, down towards Redgate corner, looks at the inside, decides it's not on. Now has got to concentrate after that little quick flick on the inside in getting it right as he comes out and having a go as they go down the Craner curves. But Elliott, with the Hyperion Motorsport car, has no intention whatsoever of being dislodged. 24 years old, Jason Elliott was winning races in Formula Ford when he was 17, went in, of course, to 3,000 last year, and in my view is a prospect to keep a very close eye on this year. And track-craft-wise, he knows his business. A couple of slower cars up ahead to be dealt with, and he will make the best possible use of them, you can be sure. Will try and pick his pace. It's going to be on the straight, however, so it might not be as much help to him as he had hoped. Robert Nairn still pressing hard on David Walton's tail, but past the back markers, down a gear, and into the S, out of the second part. Elliott sitting back on the job, and driving this car now, you'll notice, even more smoothly than he was earlier in the race. Very smooth. Through on the inside came Edwards, though. And Edwards through on the inside, snatched back the lead briefly, but overdid it, really. went a little bit wide, got on the marbles, and I don't think Jason Elliott was too worried about that. I think he predicted to himself what was going to happen, and try as Edwards might, you're not going to pass him there, boy. And he made in the last of the late breakers, and it was just a bit too late as they go past a Class C car. Elliott, this time feeding on the power, balancing the car nicely. Notice he didn't have to back off there to capture the front. That's Dave Walton off, pulled off with the front wing off, so he's had an incident somewhere we didn't see, but he's out of the race. But here, the final lap and the final effort by Ben Edwards. And Edwards really giving it all he's got there as they came out of the old hairpin. And in the background, you can see third man spinning. That's Robert Nairn spinning away in the middle of the track. They all avoid him. Richard Boston up to third, Durden over the curb in fourth place still. And here's that battle for the lead with now just the straight, the S's, Melbourne and Goddard's to go. So time is running out for Ben Edwards, who looks like being the eternal second once more. Comes up, has a look on the outside. And Jason not making the slightest error there, using the tip of the curb. Now what will he do here? Tempt him to come through on the inside once more? Yes, he tempts him, but comes in just that little bit quicker and still noses out ahead. But they're side by side nevertheless, side by side with Elliott on the inside with the advantage as they come up towards Goddard's for the last time. Goddard's for the last time. Elliott has the advantage. Comes in, leaves his braking a moment or so later, so he's got a clear 1 car's length lead. But Jason Elliott it is who takes the checkered flag here at Donington. Here's Robert Coates, the finish to his race. Can he snatch this one away? Loads of opposite lock, gearbox problem and all. But it's not been a happy race for him. He's behind Paul Kite. Paul Kite, I think, has got this one quite nicely under control. With the handicap that Coates is suffering from, he can do very little about it. And so Robert Coates finishes back there in 9th place. So, 24 years old, Jason Elliott on his Tour d'Honneur, his second win of the day here at Donington. His win, of course, gives him no points in the championship, like the Eurovision Song Contest. Ben Edwards, Boston, Durden, Nairn and Parry do win points, and this now is the new championship position. Nairn, Edwards and Durden, the top 3, with Boston down to 4th. Elliott versus Edwards. What did Jason think?
It did make me work for it. Everywhere he was all over me. He was probably quicker than me on the outright lap, but I was just holding the tight lines. So he just couldn't get past.
I tried hard, but I really should have had him there. Should have had him. I was so close on several occasions. But Jason knows just the right line round here, just to make sure it's excellent. I mean, it was fine. He was just defensive in the right places. I just found it really difficult to find the right gap.
I had a misfire just before the grid came around, so obviously they still haven't cured it. That's why I got such a bad start, and obviously it's only really running on 3 cylinders. But it was quite fortunate that a few people spun off and managed to get third.
Well, we're back at Donington Park for the independent insurance company Vauxhall Caterham Challenge. The cars on the circuit on their warming up lap. We look at the points position. 1 point between Ben Edwards and Robert Nairn. Richard Boston and Robert Coates not so far back. David Walton in with a chance too, and so is Durden and Lancashire. 27 years old Simon Durden, straight back off holiday and into pole position. And I suggested this might well be the place to be.
Yes, I think it's very tight behind. 6 or 7 cars covered by half a second. So hopefully if we can get to the first corner first, that'll be an advantage. Keep Ben Edwards behind us. He's a very experienced driver, and it's been quite useful, I think, having him in the series as a target to aim for all of us. And he's very crafty, experienced, has had hundreds of races, and I think that tells towards the end of a race when the tyres start going off.
Third fastest, but the times are pretty close. Can it be improved?
Yes, I think so. This morning I had quite a bit of handling problem. I actually ended up in the sand trap at the old hairpin. So we're making a few adjustments for the race and hoping that'll give us a bit of time, and looking forward to a good race.
Now, 7th fastest in practice. Quite a way to go. Can you get anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, it was a disastrous practice, to be honest. And the only good lap that I had was right on the last lap, and I exited the chicane to find Mr. Chris Ree crossways in the chicane, so I had to take to the grass there, which that was going to be the only good lap of a time that I would have had, but that was, with going on the grass, we lost that one as well.
And we've lost David Walton too, pushed off the grid there with a problem. Walton looks as if he'll take no further part in this. Let's refresh our memories. Here's the grid. Durden, you can see how close the time is there from Ben Edwards, Boston. Nern, Guy Parry well up too, so David Walton we know is missing. Metcalf, not so slow. First race, don't forget, for David Metcalf, predominantly a rally driver. And Chris Rea down there in 10th place, ever improving. A little bit of creeping on the line there away, and that was a beautiful start there by Durden. Durden made a superb start. And Durden in number 14 there making a beautiful start, but look how close they are, packed up there tight together into Redgate Corner for the first time, off down the hill. We're looking at number 5, Robert Coates there, on board with Dave Metcalf. He's up to 3rd place already. Now that's quite a performance, but David's used to being on his own, not necessarily in traffic. A dash through by Ben Edwards, that was to be expected, but he goes wide. Edwards wide and on the curbing there, and catching the napping, it's Metcalf. Metcalf into the lead on this, the first lap, and that's a bigger surprise as anybody's going to get today. David Metcalf in his first race. He's used, don't forget, to front-wheel drive rather than rear-wheel drive. Down through the box, into the right-hander, out onto the straight. We're with Chris Rea, with the other Hyperion car, number 21. He's got a bit of time to make up there. He's lost some ground, as we can see. Coming up now under the bridge as we look at the leaders once again. They're having a real good snap at Metcalf there. Boston doing the man that's doing the biting. But Metcalf out in front, close there in 4th place, Robert Nyan. And Nyan having a good close look to see 4th can be made into his any minute now. Bit slippery under braking there, and way a big moment there for Richard Boston. Off into the tyre wall. I don't think he's done a lot of damage, except to his pride and to his chances in this race. So Robert Nyan, a man to keep an eye to at the moment, pushing very hard in the 2nd and 3rd place battle as Metcalf gets on with the job up front there. Up has come too Bob Coates, as we are on board with Metcalf once again. Watch those front wheels at work over the curb, correct it a little bit as the tail tries to slide away. These cars do have a little bit more power than they have road holding, so they're exciting to watch, exciting to drive, and spectacular, which is really what motor racing should be about, in my view. Number 15 there, we're looking at Jim McDougall. We're back inside Metcalf's car. Look at the feet working. Lap of the track with Metcalf. Sorts it out. A little bit of opposite lock there. Watch the feet, watch the hands. Up a gear. Up another gear. And watch where he brakes. Doubly clutch there. Into and out of Redgate, over the curb. A little bit of slide as he comes out there. Corrects the car nicely. A power on lovely and early. Down the hill. Up a gear, halfway down, note. And that's right on the limit. Down a gear, into the old hairpin. And now up through this little right-hander at the top of the hill, which can catch you out if you don't know what you're about. The right-hander can be difficult. McLean's corner. Now this is deceptive. You can very often go into this corner, jolly sight slow, and you can really get round it. So you really have to get that one right. And up now towards Coppice corner, which is not so deceptive, but seems to go on forever. 2 bites in it, really, 2 apexes as you come out onto the straight down towards Goddard. And they're now ganging up on Metcalf. Look at this, one either side. A real dive for it here. That's 14, Durden on the inside, number 7 on the outside. Nern and Metcalf finding himself all crossed up over the curb, gets it broadside onto the grass, back on again, has lost his first place, is back in 3rd place, and I think has lost touch with the other 2 as a result of that, lost another place too. Robert Coates up through it on the inside, and as often is the case, Coates in fact got through, but I think that, yes, past him again has gone Metcalf. I was going to say, as often is the case, a driver loses his concentration a moment or two after an incident like that, takes a while to get it back, but Metcalf has recovered very well. For somebody with so little experience, he has come back with a vengeance. High out for number 55, Guy Parry really going hard. Parry a late charger there, and look at Durden up ahead. Well, this is what a holiday does for you. Perhaps we should all take one. A lot of rallying experience in Australia for 27 years old Simon Durden. Number 5, Robert Coates. He's an ex-Formula 4 driver, a lot of experience. And definitely now quite a good lead for Durden, but look at the pressure once again. Up on the inside of Metcalf, all locked up. Well, I think that's goodbye, Charlie. Well, there you see what happens when you come in a little bit too fast. Once the brakes are locked up, you can't steer the car. And going wide, Metcalf was back up into 3rd place again. 24 years old, Nern in 2nd place. Son of the managing director of Caterham, though he's not in the business. Ben Edwards trying to make up time, but really quite a disappointing race as far as he's concerned. And we're with Chris Rea now, who loses a place to Paul Kite. Contrast the styles of Rea and the much busier, very much busier David Metcalf. Rea letting the car do the work a little bit, and perhaps a little bit more gentle on the throttle, but perforce one has to say he's not quite as quick. A little bit of correction necessary there. It does seem that these cars, you can steer them on the throttle, a little bit of excess throttle and the tail's out. There's the leading pair. There is Metcalf. And they're still charging hard. Edwards, I would have thought, must have some idea on pulling up a little bit, but I saw a wisp of smoke from one of those 2 cars. Durden, Nairn, Metcalf. Let's have a look and see. Yes, that's locking up that's causing that smoke on number 55, Guy Parry, but I think both of those cars are smoking a bit as we sit with Chris Rea now, who's got loads of understeer, brakes on a bit late, clips the curb, collects it back together, and came in just a little bit too fast there, which lost him rather than gained him anything. And somebody else is pouring out smoke up ahead there. And whether that's oil, I don't know, but certainly it's caused Rea a few problems. He's off on the grass, fortunately. Restarted the engine very quickly. And I'm just wondering whether or not there was anything dropped there. I don't think so, though. Oh, yes, we did talk about that smoke, and there we can see why. I think Ben Edwards has got the wing rubbing on the wheel. That's why that wasn't smoking quite as much as it is as we watch Durden. Now off down towards Goddard's once more with quite an acceptable lead. Closing stages here. Simon Durden, who of course rallied extensively in Australia, proving that he's equally at home on a circuit now. A very good debut for 3rd place man Dave Metcalf, who in spite of all the pressure in the world hasn't given way. And you can see that is a wing that's rubbing as far as Ben Edwards is concerned. Clouds of smoke. Next thing is it will go bang, he'll spin and he'll be out of the race, I reckon. And the braking. Oh, it's deflated already. It's rubbed a hole in it. And Ben Edwards has a problem. He's got a limp round there with Dave Metcalf into his last lap. We'll stay with him on this last lap, I think, because we can see up ahead there what's happening with the leading car. Durden in the lead, Nairn in 2nd place, Metcalf in 3rd place. Metcalf, the man who was under a bit of pressure, but I think that has subsided a little now. Now this is the awkward one. 1st apex, 2nd apex, and he wasn't as tight on the 2nd one as he was on the 1st, which probably will irritate him because drivers like to be neat. They like to have it right in the same place every time. Down the straight for the last time. Metcalf in his 1st race holding on to 3rd place, but this is the man, Simon Durden, came back off holiday, took pole, took the race here, race 5 in the series, and a very happy driver indeed, I would say, as Metcalf takes 3rd place. The meat in the sandwich, well, Robert Nairn there. So Durden, Nairn and Metcalf, the top 3, Robert Coates, Parry and Paul Kite, and the luckless man, of course, was, as we know, Ben Edwards. There you see dropping behind in the points battle, but Simon Durden moving up rapidly towards Nairn.
Good race. First couple of laps a bit hectic. Dave Metcalf and a couple of the others were all over us. A couple of sort of half losers. Then it sorted itself out and I got a break, and it was just hard work to keep that, just concentrating, not making any mistakes.
A cloudy day here at Castle Combe for round 8 of the Independent Insurance Caterham Vauxhall Challenge. in a championship that has been very spectacular throughout the season and is still, as you can see, quite closely fought. 59 points for the leader, Ben Edwards, sees him just ahead by 12 points from Robert Coates and Robert Nern. Guy Parry moving up there, and the cars coming up to the line. 26 years old Ben Edwards made his name in single-seaters, poleman here, and obviously the man to ask about Castle Combe.
You really hang on, actually. In some places, you're sort of gritting your teeth and holding on as tight as you can. But in fact, you get used to the bumps after a little while, and then you're just concentrating on the corners. So hopefully we can just concentrate on the race and not to worry too much about the bumps.
The other occupants of the front row, Simon Durden and Guy Parry, whose mother, incidentally, was a cousin of Tim Birkin, the famous Bentley driver, the aggressive 17-year-old Bernie Wood. Next to him, Robert Nern, 24 years old, son of the founder of Caterham. And then back a row, David Walton and Robert Coates. And then David Brabham, the celebrity driver, driving the Toyotas in World Endurance Championship. When did he last drive a front-engine car, I wonder?
This is the first time. What I needed to do is probably ring up my father and see what it was like in the early 50s, but I couldn't get hold of him.
You've attracted a lot of very good drivers, particularly among the celebrity drivers, and some tremendous racing, Andy.
Well, I think if you look at the celebrity drivers, there are a lot of names who are doing it because it is such a fun car to drive. So that's what it's all about, is going out there and enjoying yourself. And winning, of course. And you look at the way the cars are turned out, and you look at the people who drive them, it's fabulous, good fun.
At high level motorsport, the fun goes out of it a little bit, so I think you've got to come back to your roots and have a bit of fun.
Well, they're back from the warming up lap. They line up, as we've said, Ben Edwards in pole position, Simon Durden and Guy Parry next in. There you can see the times, and they're all very, very close, a feature of this sort of racing. Look out for young Bernie Wood, 17 years old. Robert Nairn next to him, and that third row with Brabham on it. A little bit disappointed perhaps with his practice time, but I reckon he'll go well in the race. Phil Lancashire, Mike Dixon make up the top 10. So, seconds to go. We're on board with Bernie Wood, and away he goes. And that's a bit of a hesitant start for him. He lost a couple of places as a result of it. Finds himself passing number 14 there and keeping well on course, however, for a good start. Simon Durden had a problem. Ben Edwards having his work cut out to try and snatch that lead. And you can see that these cars on the bumps here are a bit of a handful. Ben Edwards on the inside, Bernie Wood on the outside. Wasn't a good way to get round and snatch a place there. And here they come, and Parry giving a pretty good impersonation there of Sir Henry Birkin. Hasn't got the scarf flying. Birkin, of course, won races for Bentley, the first man to water ski in Britain. Brought water skiing to Britain. Tower corner coming up, and somebody on the inside of Bernie Wood who's going very, very wide there. Got himself offline, lost himself a place as a result of it. That was Nairn who came past him. Young Master Wood can go well, but I think at the moment he lacks a bit of experience and has got a huge amount of enthusiasm. And that too can be a bit of a difficult combination. There's Brabham at the back of that group, so he's not very far back. Here's Bernie Wood again, lining himself up. He lost a place, so he's in 5th place now. And still in the lead, it's Guy Parry. Coming up towards Quarry. And this is quite a dice at the front. You can see what a handful these little cars are. Now, that's better, Bernie. On the inside, up there, into 4th place. And up a gear. Looking as if 3rd could be his. Having a good look at it, too. But, woof, got it a bit sideways there. Twitched it straight. These cars do slither and slide about a little bit, but they are very, very controllable. But he lost himself a bit of time there. Leading trio, Bernie Wood, going a little bit wide there. But holding on in, nevertheless. He's still sitting there in 4th place. Lost a bit of ground to the 3 ahead of him. But gains tremendously. Oh, very, very sideways. All over the grass. That was Coates and it by him. 2 more cars there. There's Brabham going by now. So a little bit of excess of enthusiasm there, and Bernie Wood drops himself a few places and no doubt will come storming back. Looking at Brabham, looks at the inside, goes for the inside. The gap wasn't there, he touched the grass in the middle of it all, right on Brabham's tail. That car hardly ever straight. He'll smooth out as he gets a bit older, but at the moment it's an excess of zeal half the time. Ben Edwards really having a crack up front there at the moment. But we're really on board with this young man who is not exactly setting the world alight, but it's exciting to watch. There's Edwards in the lead. Oh, very sideways there, number 5. Robert Coates. Wood on the back of that group. He's caught up with it again. And coming up, and now a big challenge once again. Guy Parry looking and coming on the inside. And Ben Edwards losing his lead there. So Parry takes the lead. Edwards in second place. And that's Bernie Wood. That's our camera car off into the bank. Tough little cars, these Caterhams. That was a huge impact. And a rather shocked and shaken 17-year-old. Certainly there, I think, chastened by the experience. Guy Parry showing his experience up ahead. Once a tyre fitter. Bernie out of the car, looking a bit red in the face from the effort. Perfectly okay. Except perhaps to his pride there. And Brabham beginning to move up a little bit now. Ben Edwards still holding on to second place. Third place there and losing it, number 7. Nan slid a little bit wide, lost the place to number 5, Robert Coates. And this really is quite a battle up ahead. Look at Edwards closing in, looking for a way. And Guy Parry doesn't really want to know, keeps the door closed. Charging along, Robert Nan would like third place. And Brabham, well, he's dropped a little bit on them, but I think, bearing in mind his lack of experience, he did about 9 laps in practice in this car, which is not very much to get used to handling something that's a very, very different proposition. 8, I'm corrected there. 8 laps, in fact. He did in practice, so his sole experience of the car not very great. You can see him, in fact, on the back of that group. This is a bumpy circuit. It's scheduled for resurfacing, incidentally, in the autumn. And I'm sure that among the drivers who will find that most welcome will be these boys. That was David Walton being carved up there, finding himself back in 5th place when he really felt that 3rd should be the place he should be in. And a bit of space up the inside there, but not really was Ben Edwards able to take any advantage of it. Brabham pulls out, looks at Walton. Walton had the same idea at the same time, so Brabham has to look the other side. Brabham looking as if he'd like to make a place there as we watch the leaders once more. Oh, that's desperately close. Huge battle between Coates and Nairn. No quarter asked or given. Walton the man in the grandstand seat and Brabham just behind him. In the midst of it all, Simon Durden appeared from nowhere after what was a rather poor start. Ooh, big twitch there by the leader, sorts it out. Here's the next group. Durden now has overcome David Walton and making up for lost time, but he's got quite a job on his hands. Ben Edwards looks at the inside, but there's not quite enough room, or is there? Yes, eases himself through. That was a nice piece of driving on Parry's part, because Parry kept off his line there and allowed Ben Edwards to come through. Other people with a little bit less common sense would have inevitably got themselves in trouble there, but not Guy Parry. And puff of smoke there from Edwards, I would say. Probably, I was going to say tyre smoke, but I don't know. Brabham still in 5th place, but hoping to make it 4th. Yes, he has. No, he hasn't. 5th place still then for David Brabham, the celebrity driver. And Ben Edwards under very heavy pressure here. And these two have made a little bit of a break, as you can see, from the pursuing 5 cars. The first 7 still covered by a comparatively short space of time, but the break for the first 2 important at this stage, I think. Still 3rd place, number 5, Coates. Then 7, then 17, Brabham. Beginning to look as if he's making a bit of a bid. Trying to go around the outside there. Well, it's not new, but it's brave, I'll tell you that. Quarry Bend. The 2 leaders once more. Edwards trying very hard to keep the door closed on Guy Parry. There's a slide, and that's number 1, Walton, who loses it, spins to a halt, flicks it back in the direction of travel again, but has lost to the battle and lost to the race as a top contender. And Brabham being worried by Durden at the moment and not really getting on terms with the guy ahead of him, which he would need to do, Robert Coates. Big effort there on the outside. Guy Parry decides that discretion's the better part of valour. Robert Nern, rather than Coates it is, who Brabham is pressing at the moment, and Durden who's pressing Brabham. 2 laps to go for the leaders, side by side. And that looks like a very good idea to dive down there, but not so good when you get to that part of the circuit. Mr. Parry, oof, very sideways behind, came in very, very quickly. A very hard charging Robert Coates there. And Coates right with them. Little gap before we get Nairn and Brabham and Durden. But that was quite a moment. Brabham having a bit of a moment there as it flicked sideways on him. And up to second place. Robert Coates there timed that beautifully. Guy Parry wants it back again. Before he gets a chance to settle there, Parry is re-attacking, trying to retake that second place. But Coates now worrying at Ben Edwards. Ben Edwards keeping well over to the right-hand side on this, the last lap. So they've got to go round him. Through goes Parry, or does he's on the inside. Now, as I've said, that often looks like the place to be as you come out of Quarry, but it's not. Because of the bumps and everything else, and whoops, getting pushed out of the way there a little bit. Robert Coates snatched the lead from Ben Edwards, and Guy Parry tries to get between both of them. Decides he can't do it there. Has a look at the inside there. This race far from over. Brabham now has closed the gap. Brabham right up there in 4th place. One mistake on the part of any of these 3 and it can all change. And we're coming up towards the last corner, the last lap of this independent insurance Caterham Vauxhall Challenge. And there we have it. Guy Parry's got himself in front. Now can he stay there? And very, very sideways, sliding away there. Robert Coates scrubbed the speed off. Ben Edwards couldn't get by. Brabham couldn't get by. That's the first 4. Simon Durden in 5th place. And here's the confirmation of that. Parry, Coates, Edwards, Brabham, Simon Durden and Robert Nern. That's the top 6 then in round 8 of the Caterham Vauxhall Challenge, with Edwards now with 10 points ahead of Robert Coates in the championship. 4 points behind Coates is Parry. Then Nern and Walton and Durden, all within striking distance. What a race.
Well, I thought I had it covered on that last lap, but I missed 5th gear coming down the last straight and into the corner. Unfortunately, Guy got past me, just out-dragged me to the last corner. I made a do-or-die attempt, and it was very nearly die, but second it was.
Whew. It's the first win, and it's been overdue, and it's my local circuit, so I've been doing what everyone said. It's about time I won here. It's brilliant.
Tremendous race though, really close racing and hell of a battle.
Well, full marks to Robert. I don't know where on earth he came from. I thought Ben and I were away on our own for a while, and then all of a sudden, whoosh, there was the 3rd car in contention. But it was a good race.
The final round of the independent insurance Caterham Vauxhall Challenge from Castle Combe. The pre-war aerodrome going to be subject to a lot of resurfacing work during the course of the winter, and these are the positions in the championship after 11 rounds. Edwards, you can see, ahead of Robert Coates, Guy Parry next up, Dave Walton, Simon Durden and Bill Lancashire. Having secured the championship at the previous round, it's a happy Ben Edwards who's arrived at Castle Combe determined to do it again.
I enjoyed myself this morning. I got out there and went as quick as I could. I thought Robert Coates might have me actually, but I just pipped him by 0.04 of a second, so I'm looking forward to a close race.
It could well be very close. It always has produced good racing here.
Oh, wonderful racing. We had a great race last time here, and I think there's going to be 4 or 5 cars battling for the lead, I think.
Robert Coates intends to be among that battling group of cars. but we asked him whether or not the wind would make a difference.
I guess it might. Where it's a headwind, it's obviously going to slow us down, but perhaps on the return leg, it'll be speeding us up. In any case, we do hit the rev limiter on the approach to Quarry at this circuit, and that's something approaching 140 miles an hour. It's very quick.
No, it's pretty bumpy here. It must take some handling.
Actually, the bumps, generally speaking, are all along the straights or in areas that it's not so bad to cope with. In the braking areas, it's relatively smooth. And once you're actually into the corner and the suspension is loaded up, you don't notice the bumps at all.
Well, the times after practice in what's a comparatively small field, pretty close as you can see. Edwards with a very slim advantage indeed. Dave Walton a man to keep an eye to, Robert Nern quite well up. Oddly enough, well back Guy Parry, who usually goes well here, and Simon Durden, another man to keep an eye to as well. The flag about to fall, and a lot of fun here, I'm quite certain. On board with Robert Coates at the start, and it's a good one too. Through that nifty little gearbox, and through the box well. Neville pegging for the front row, but David Walton just about making it into the lead in the blue car. Right behind him, the man who's won the championship, Ben Edwards. And this has the makings of quite a battle. Walton still in the lead. On the inside there, Ben Edwards. We're looking at the back of Edwards' car to see what's going on behind, and there's quite a lot too. Nairn on the inside, Coates on the outside. Ben Edwards having a look. And having a look behind as well. Well, he might. That's Coates. Going a bit wide there. Looking at the outside now, looking at the inside. These cars very evenly matched indeed. And look at that, Nairn coming up, trying to get around the outside. Goes very wide onto the marbles. And that isn't going to make life too easy at all. Watching that battle from Coates' car. That's Edwards in front of him. And in front at the moment, but just about to lose that lead, was Dave Walton. Walton relegated to second place. He left a bit of space on the inside, and that was that. Guy Parry has come right up there at number 55. Walton has another look. The bumps here really making that suspension work over time. Looking at these cars, it's difficult to believe that this Colin Chapman design goes back to the mid-50s. That's when the basic frame, the basic suspension was laid down by Colin Chapman, then fitted with an 1172 Ford engine. Ross Maxwell, the New Zealander, looking for sheep on the grass, can't find anybody, so he rejoins the motor race. And Walton now, desperate to try and make up some ground, having a good look at the inside of Tower, comes out. That was a very, very well planned manoeuvre. Absolutely smack on. Simon Durden, the yellow car, number 14, by the way. We're aboard Coates, number 7. Watching the leading pair. He thinks the job's to follow Walton. I'm not quite sure. Looks at the space between them. Comes in on a later apex. But he doesn't avail him of anything. Goes into the lead once again. Goes Ben Edwards. Formula First was Ben Edwards' introduction into racing. And Ben Edwards certainly proved to be a very able Formula First champion. Has come into this series, however, and by his own admission, I think has had the best year he's ever had as far as fun and enjoying his motor racing is concerned. Edwards in the lead then. Tucked up behind him, Dave Walton. Into old paddock. And Coates hanging on to that third place, but he's giving himself work to do all the time. Tower corner. Walton looks at the inside. The proverbial pocket handkerchief would cover the top 5. Front suspension working there. Coates watching, looking, waiting for the opportunity. Once again, Walton taking the wide line, and Guy Parry, who you may recall is related to the late Sir Henry Birkin, the famous Bentley boy, holding on to 4th place. Notice he hasn't got the polka-dotted scarf there, but dives for the inside. That was tight, and you could see the bumps there were really making life very difficult indeed for Robert Coates. Coates got on a bumpy bit and didn't like it much. Looking out the back of Ben Edwards' car. Coates behind him. Old Paddock coming up. And through on the inside past David Walton. Walton looks at the outside. And Walton on the outside there. That's a tight one, that is. Almost got himself clipped. Tried to find a space that wasn't there, but somehow or other got there and found that space. I'm not quite sure how. Has another go. This is really close racing. And the battle high second, third and fourth places. Ben Edwards really having to work at it to stay out front there. But while the others play like this, he can afford to enjoy life a little. Parry up to third place. Now, he always goes well at Castle Combe, and I don't think today's any exception. Edwards, so quick into the corner. Really came in very quickly. 14, Simon Durden, he suddenly joined in too. Was never that far behind, come to that, but right up there now for sure. Oof, that was a chancy one. Looked at the inside there, David Walton, but it wasn't to be. 17 is Lisa Thackwell, having a bit of a lonely race at the back of the field. I can't say that I blame her. Stay out of trouble like this. Round the outside there, Coates came in desperate to try and nick a place, but it didn't happen. Still the order. Ben Edwards in the lead. Walton in second place. Now in third place, and looking if he intends to stay there, Guy Parry. Parry looks first on the inside, then on the outside of Walton, now at the inside again. Oh, is he determined. Walton once again goes a bit wide as they come out there, but they all seem to use every bit of road there. These little Vauxhall engine cars, very quick. There are no aerodynamics on these cars, but they've got enough power to pull them through the air. And that's the grass. Doesn't make for a comfortable ride, isn't very quick either. You can see he's lost about 4 or 5 cars lengths as a result of that. Tower corner. And Edwards still holding off everybody. I would say on balance, Edwards seemingly being able to pick his lines a little bit, can maintain his advantage. The man that is concerning everybody, as far as leaders are concerned, has got to be charging up behind Guy Parry. If Parry can get past Walton, who knows what he might achieve? Catching him is one thing, passing him is another. Simon Durden knows all about that. He's in exactly the same situation with Robert Coates. Walton approaching fast, coming up to Quarry, looks at the outside, has to nip back in again. And that put him offline slightly, so his exit from the corner, as you can see, not as quick as the leader. Edwards holding on in there, driving a very intelligent race. There's a shadow of the camera there that's pointing backwards, that's giving us these pictures. He does slide, and that's Walton spinning onto the grass, taking evasive action there. Robert Coates missed him, but that cloud of smoke saw the departure of Walton, who I believe has restarted, but somewhat chastened, is some considerable way back now. Little Lancashire profits by that a little bit and has caught up with Robert Coates. Let's see that again in replay. The trouble on the way into the corner, get it corrected, but overcorrection, gets itself round. Coates takes evasive action, Parry takes evasive action, so does Durden, and just a little clip there as he went by from Guy Parry, rearranged the rear wing, and Coates there, concentration in fact disturbed, still trying to get it back together again, and while he was trying to get it back together, he's now well behind Simon Durden, who's the challenger to Guy Parry, out in front, on his own, enjoying life, Ben Edwards. Parry, sideways. Durden doing the pressuring, and that sideways manoeuvre could cause problems. There's the real problem as far as number 1 Dave Walton's concerned, that wing that was clipped, half covering. I don't think they're going to flag him in for that. Edwards, comparatively unmolested, out front now, can pick his lines, doesn't have to drive on his mirror in any way defensively. And behind, in second and third places, still a good battle, but Guy Parry and Durden, well, that's still anybody's race. Into their last lap, Parry second, Durden third, fourth place Robert Coates. And Durden getting himself together, driving ultra smoothly, using all the road, picking the time, picking the place, waiting for the space. Here's Edwards. Judgment absolutely superb. You can see how tight Parry was there. Couldn't afford to be so precise that he didn't just clip the curb. And here they come down this very, very quick part of the circuit. Ooh. Number 7, Robert Nairn, getting a bit broadside there. And this is Edwards, the Independent Insurance Caterham Vauxhall Challenge champion for 1992, coming up to take the checkered flag. In second place, Guy Parry. In third place, Simon Durban. In fourth place, a chastened Robert Coates. What a race. That's the result. Edwards the winner. Parry second, Durban third, Coates fourth. The next two, Nairn and Chris Strakosch. Ben Edwards then takes 103 points to win this championship. A respectable one indeed over Coates and Parry. Great racing, tremendous battles. We look forward to it again next year.
Yeah, it was a good race, I tell you. Those first few laps, absolutely incredible. And then I saw Dave spin in my mirror, so it was a sort of blessed relief because he was really pushing well.
Tremendous fun. I mean, I don't think there's anything any closer or as quick. I mean, 6 laps and you're still all tied together in a tight knot. It's tremendous racing and great fun. It's got to be one of the best championships out at the moment. I hope to see a lot more next year.